Lewis Hamilton drops a bombshell on Daniel Ricciardo joining Mercedes F1. So we're going to be going through all that in today's video, but before we get into it, make sure you like this video, and don't forget, if you want more Mercedes F1 content like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hitting that red button down below. But let's get straight into today's story. So Hamilton vows not to quit F1 as talks of Daniel Ricciardo to Mercedes gathers pace. Now Lewis Hamilton has insisted he has no plans on leaving Formula 1 in the near future after speculation that Mercedes were lining up Daniel Ricciardo as a potential replacement should the 7-time champion retire. Ricciardo would not confirm or deny he was in talks with Mercedes, but admitted he was exploring all possible options. 2 weeks ago, McLaren announced they will replace Ricciardo with Oscar Piastri next season, and the Australian's chances of gaining a seat in F1 for 2023-2024 are absolutely limited. Hamilton will turn 39 shortly after his current contract with Mercedes concludes at the end of next season, and with the team off the pace this year, speculation has continued over whether he will race beyond 2023. On Thursday morning, it was reported that Mercedes did not want to ask being left short of a driver should Hamilton leave, and that Ricciardo was under consideration to become Mercedes reserve driver in 2023, ready to step into his shoes if required. Hamilton, who was sitting next to Ricciardo at the press conference before the weekend's Italian Grand Prix at Monza, which you all know what happened, and he actually had this to say: "For years we have been going up and down with stories of retirement and stopping," he said. "I feel healthier than I ever have felt. I love what I'm doing and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon." When asked if he had been in talks with Mercedes, a guarded Ricciardo offered only a no comment, suggesting that they had entered discussions. "The truth is, I'm keeping my options very open for next year and for the future," he said. "I still don't know what year looks like, but I do know I want to be on the grid. I do want to race. Although this has been a challenging time in my career, it has taken the love of the sport away from me, that desire to still be here." Ricciardo's main option to stay on the grid next year would be to join the Alpine team as a replacement for Fernando Alonso, who's joining Aston Martin. Hamilton said he believed Ricciardo deserved better than to be a reserve driver at Mercedes, but that he would welcome him if he had joined. "I think he should be racing," he said. "He has earned the right to be amongst one of us all racing, but of course, he's part of our team. That would be great. If I was his manager, he would be racing." Hamilton faces another trying weekend at Monza, and we all know how that went, but when it comes to all of this as well, we've also had Hamilton talk more about Daniel Ricciardo and what he thinks of him, and there's what he had to say. "He's far too talented, and he's earned the right to be amongst all of us in racing, but of course, if he's part of our team, that would be great. But third driver role is not really what's best for him. If I was managing him, he'd be racing at the front." And I do completely agree with this, guys. We had a little glimpse of it just a little before, but talking about the main points where I think Daniel Ricciardo is, too talented to be with Mercedes, I do agree in the sense that, for him to be a reserve driver, I think he's able to be a main driver. So I think he should go explore other options there. And obviously, on top of all this, it doesn't seem like Lewis Hamilton is looking to retire anytime soon. So that's also something you have to keep in mind. Now, the truth is, keeping my options open for not only next year, but the future too. "I still don't know what year next year looks like," as Lewis said, "and I don't want to be on the grid, but I do know I want to race. I touched on it a few weeks ago. Although this has been certainly a challenging time in my career, it has taken the love of sport away from me." So obviously there is a lot to it when it comes to that, but on top of all this, Lewis Hamilton has actually had 4 months of intense talks to finalize a $150 million contract with Mercedes. So this was honestly huge news. Mark Hines shared how Lewis Hamilton signed a new 3-year-long contract worth around $150 million with Mercedes in 2014, ahead of the 2015 season. There was a lot of speculation going about regarding Lewis Hamilton's future in F1. The Briton had just crowned world champion after winning the title in 2014, and this was his second championship since his first title in 2008, and his first with his new team Mercedes, which he joined in 2013. But Hamilton's contract was due to the end of 2014, but instead of letting Mercedes dictate their terms, Lewis commanded a $150 million contract based on racing merit alone. Lewis negotiated a 3-year deal that saw his annual salary go up to $30 million. He became the third highest paid driver after Fernando Alonso and Sebastian Vettel. His old friend and right-hand man Mark Hines explained how he and also why Lewis got the high-paying job. He said, "What Lewis has done is very impressive. Dealing with a big company, he has shown how smart he is." Mark has known Lewis since his karting days. Those two have been very close, and Mark took care of Lewis's contract negotiations and handled the operations of his charity, Project 44. Lewis Hamilton and Michael Schumacher share the record for the most first consecutive F1 season, scoring at least one victory, and that is at 15. So obviously there is a record that, Hamilton is willing to break or wanting to break. However, when it comes to this, guys, it may come to an end if he can't pull it off this year. He adds he never stops working to improve his brand. He's working tirelessly for his team and his sport off the track. Then he gets in his car and destroys everyone. Lewis shared his joy in renewing the deal with Mercedes. This is a company filled with real passionate racers from the boardroom to the factory floor, and an incredible hunger to win. He'd go on to rewrite F1's history books with the Mercedes. But what is Lewis Hamilton's newest contract? During the 2021 season, Lewis Hamilton signed a fresh 2-year-long extension with Mercedes, and this means that Britain will be staying in F1 until the end of 2023 F1 season. Lewis will be 38 by the time the contract expires, and he will be racing in his 17th season in F1. The 7-time world champion is set to make $55 million a season, making him the joint highest earner in the F1 grid alongside Red Bull's Max Verstappen. Recently, Lewis became only the 6th driver to have started 300 F1 races, and he does not seem eager to stop and retire. He hushed his retirement rumors ahead of the 2022 Italian Grand Prix, where Lewis said, "I love what I'm doing and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon." I mean, look, for years we'll be going around up and down with stories of retirement and stopping, and for me, I feel healthier than ever. So it doesn't really seem like he's going to be leaving anytime soon, and that's why it does show a bit of a sign that Daniel Ricciardo may not be able, to eventually get that Mercedes spot, as a proper driver or main driver, and instead would have to stay as a reserve driver due to the fact that Hamilton doesn't look to retire anytime soon. Now, in other news, Mercedes boss Toto Wolff wants to see Porsche enter F1, and this was kind of interesting to see. Now, Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff admits that he is eager to see Porsche join the Formula 1 grid in the future. Porsche was in discussion with Red Bull over a potential partnership from 2026. However, talks broke down as the two parties couldn't agree on terms. Despite walking away from a deal with the energy drink-packed squad, Porsche has asserted that it will be eyeing an entry going forward. Porsche's parent company in Volkswagen has already committed one of its brands in Audi is to be F1 by 2026, with the announcement made last month that it would enter the sport as a power unit supplier. However, it is expected that it will take a majority share in Sauber and form its own team on the grid. With Audi's entry confirmed, Wolff is keen to see another major manufacturer in Porsche setup station in the paddock. It would be a great thing for F1 if Porsche would join as well, Wolff said. They just need to figure out if there's another interesting project, whether they can buy a team. Maybe that's not 26, maybe that's 27 or 28, but that would be a great addition to the grid in F1. I think when Toto Wolff talks about this, yes, it is going to be more competition, but I think it is great to see other teams or see more competitive teams. It really grows the sport, and it really does help F1 being pushed to a greater audience. As you all know, F1 was actually the fastest growing sport last year, and I think that was definitely due to the Netflix series Drive to Survive. If you haven't watched that already, guys, definitely go give it a watch. I will have to admit that's what got me into F1 as well. It was just such a good series, but to have, bigger name brands such as Porsche in it, Audi eventually coming by, I really do think it is going to grow. Now, I think what would really change the game is if you get a lot of, Japanese or JDM manufacturers deciding to come in. So if we had like Subaru, Mitsubishi, these types of brands, if you saw them come in, then you got a whole new car segment. We all know cars is a very big thing, but I feel like JDM and like the fan base of JDM cars is so big that if you got them into F1, honestly, guys, it would be a different, type of crowd, and it will definitely grow this sport even faster. But that's just something that's my food for thought. It's not really like that has to happen, but I think getting Audi and Porsche is definitely going to bring a whole new crowd, which I think is fantastic for the sport, like I said. But Toto Wolff continued on saying every large corporation, especially auto companies, not only auto companies because Red Bull is pretty good at that, not only buys a racing team and invests large amounts of money into running it, but invests even more into activation is beneficial to F1. If a brand like Porsche that is known all over the world puts their marketing dollars to activate F1, we will all be benefiting, and I think that's the important part. Not just having a team and running it in, but also all markets would race. Big advertising, big campaigns, putting the brand out there. That's why having these big brands in F1 is important. So I think this is really exciting to see, and I think it is fantastic to see what they have created. I honestly think with everything that is going on, he's honestly such a great, person when it comes to understanding what F1 is all about. And I do think this is good to see from F1, and I think it is fantastic going forward. Now, Lewis Hamilton actually, has surprised us this whole, this video, but Lewis Hamilton makes title prediction as he targets the record-breaking crown. Lewis Hamilton has been unable to fight for the title this season as Mercedes have failed to match the Red Bull and Ferrari. However, Lewis Hamilton still has hopes of securing an 8th world title before he retires from the sport. Hamilton said he truly believes he will have another shot at grabbing the elusive crown months after losing out to Max Verstappen. The Mercedes star added that he still had faith in the team to deliver him a car capable of challenging again soon. His comments came after Hamilton was asked how he would feel if he was unable to secure the record-breaking landmark. Smiling, he told Canal, "No, because firstly, that's not the current focus in the sense of I might have to. I remember when I got my first world title, I was like, some people don't even know I have one, so I was grateful for one. Then I got a second. I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to have 1-7. I think that surpassed my expectations, probably my dad's expectation, and anybody that saw me coming into the sport." And I really do think this. I think Lewis Hamilton has definitely cemented his name as one of the greats, and you could definitely put him up there or give that argument that he's definitely, the GOAT. But I truly believe that I will be back fighting for a championship again. That's what all the work I'm doing with this team is working towards, and just got to be patient. If you ever let doubt in your mind, I don't think it's positive. So that's my train of thought. And also, I just believe in every single individual in this team and what they are trying to do and what we are doing together, both in the car and out of the car. Mercedes have struggled to match the pace of the front runners all season, but have come close to challenging on occasions. Hamilton appeared to have the pace at the British Grand Prix, while he could have triumphed with a different strategy at Zandvoort, except for a late safety car. So there is a lot of information, guys. Let me know down in the comments what you think, and yeah, I'll see you soon. Peace.